All right, so moving along, we're going to go back to FileMaker Pro here, and I'm going to go back to layout mode where I can make edits and move my field picker here out of the way a little bit. And let's work on contracts. Now, we have some contracts in our organization. Typically, organizations have Word documents that get printed and signed and maybe scanned back. But we don't have a field for that yet, so once again, I can say Add New Field, and I could say Contract. And I'm going to say it's a container again. That looks good. And then while we're at it, it would be great if we were out with our customers to actually capture a signature for the approved work. And of course, once again, this is a demo, but you could work out the workflow that certain things happen and then the contracts were done and then they reviewed certain information and they signed it. So let's just create another new field called signature. Again, that's a container as well. And then I'm going to add one last field, which was date signed. And of course, this is going to be a date field right here. So we have text fields, number fields, pretty self-explanatory, calculations, which we haven't played with, but that's where we can do math and various other things. And we have our date field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab the contract, and I'm going to drag it over here. Once again, my little blue alignment lines line up everywhere. And I'm going to drag this down and make it kind of vertically big like this so I can see the contract. Kind of nice. It could be smaller. I could put 4 or 5 of them in here if I wanted. No big deal. I'm going to grab the signature. I'm going to put a label on the top so we can see that what it actually is. I'm going to put it right up here and help me align. I'm going to move this field picker over here out of the way and maybe make it a little bit smaller. It doesn't have to be crazy big. That looks good. And then let's grab the date signed. Now I'm going to put that here as well. Notice that it gives me that left alignment right there on that left edge, which is really cool. I'm going to drop it right there and make it a little bit bigger. Now, one thing we're going to go ahead and do here, and once again, that blue lines wants to help me line it up. Pretty cool. I can actually bring out my inspector tool here, which allows me to more precisely control some things. And I can click on this date sign field here, and I can go over here and say, well, instead of it just being a edit box, let's make it a pop-down calendar, which is kind of cool. And so you'll see what that does in a second. And then also include an icon to show that it's actually a calendar, so you can hide and see the calendar. So pretty slick. So I'm going to go ahead and exit this layout mode back to browse mode. Now, what's important to understand, and this is kind of one of those fundamental ideas, is that the people who are using the database don't have to be building the database. You're going to build the database, once and then periodically make little updates to it probably. But the idea is that most of the people in the office don't have to be jumping into layout mode to make changes because you're going to get all this set up and then your average person doesn't have to know how to do anything except drag and drop. Once again, so we have our contracts. We're at Bryant Park, and I have a contract for Bryant Park, and I can drag and drop. Now, these are going to be littered all over people's machines. If you're halfway organized, maybe they're in a Dropbox somewhere, but I'm just going to drag and drop the contract in there. It displays it. Once again, if I go back over here to Bryant Park on my mobile device and I hit contracts, I'm going to see that in short order as well. So we see the contract here. We see the same information. Now, if we're actually out in the field and we're using our iPad, I can click on the container itself, and I can view this in detail, for example. So I can take a look at it, and here's the contract. I can scroll through and actually review the terms of the contract. Oh, we didn't do these certain shrubs around the trees here. We're not watering the right way. Oh, you're not paying us to do that. Oh, we need to add that to the contract, or we maybe need to remove something. So we can review everything about the customer with the iPad actually out in the field. Really cool. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click out, and then I can hit done up here, and it returns me back to FileMaker. Now, since we're out there with the customer, I can go ahead and get a signature from them if I'd like. I can click on signature, and I can say insert signature. Now, notice I'm telling it to insert a signature. No big deal, but you can actually make little adjustments to FileMaker so it jumped into the signature directly. So that's totally doable as well. So I'm going to put Doris in here and hit accept. And of course, then I can click out, and then instantly back over here in FileMaker Pro, we have the signature here as well. So once again, we're sharing the data in real time. Now, what's cool is that I can also click over here and date signed. And what we're going to get is the pop-up date selector which of course I'm trying to grab it with my mouse here, and it doesn't work because this is a screen rendering of this iPad. But once I use my fingers to go up and down, I can select whatever date we want, whatever year we want, and we say insert that. No problem. So of course I have the date in there, no big deal. Now, if you're back in FileMaker Pro right here, which is the Mac and Windows, once again, this looks identical in Windows. We get the calendar right here. We can click on the calendar, and we see the calendar represented like this. So the interaction is somewhat specific to the platform. You're not going to have a scroll wheel that you're going to try to finger drive on your screen because most people's desktop computers are not touch screens. So FileMaker adjusts based upon the device it's on. It's really cool. All right, so now we're at the point where we've got the contracts tab set up, the map tab set up, pretty slick. Let's go ahead and set up our work orders. Now, this is a really cool capability, and we're going to take this database to a whole new level, way beyond what your spreadsheet's going to be able to do. But in order to see this, we need to go ahead and import the work order information. So I'm going to go ahead and say File and Import Records. I'm going to say File. So I have my work orders right here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then what I'm going to do, it's going to present me with this dialog, and I'm going to say, don't import them into customers. That doesn't make any sense. Create a new table called work orders. So it's like another spreadsheet within FileMaker, but they call it a table. And you're like, oh, well, you're just moving one spreadsheet to the other. Well, kind of yes and no. I'm going to say, don't import. I'm going to check this right here so it takes these names over here out of the spreadsheet and brings them over here. No big deal. And I'm going to say import. And once again, when you do a Excel import into FileMaker, you're going to get a new layout. So it creates a new layout for us. I'm going to go ahead and drive back over here to the iPad layout, which notice once again it's untouched. So the work order information is in our customer file here. And I want to show you a little bit deeper under the hood how we can get at this information. I'm going to go to File, down to Manage, over to Database. We're managing our database. And it's a little bit deeper into the pool, but it's pretty easy to understand. If you look at what we have our customers and our work orders. And notice that the customers are the fields that we imported, including the fields that we created, right? We created photo and contract and signature. We added all those ourselves. So these were spreadsheets, now they're tables. And I can look at them even graphically based. I mean, this is the representation of those two tables right here. Now, we want to be able to see the work orders that belong to a customer. Pretty simple request, right? But with spreadsheets, you'd be moving into people be printing it out and trying to move it around on paper. And we notice that there is a customer number or some sort of identifying number that's unique between the two. And in this case, it's customer number. And all I have to do, I'm going to zoom in here real quick. All I have to do is literally grab the customer number and drag a line to the customer number over here to establish within FileMaker that these two are the same thing. And what we've done is we've now connected work orders and customers, and that is a relational connection. In this video course, we're not going to talk too much about the relational part of databases, but FileMaker is fully relational, and we've just created the relationship right here. And most people are like, whoa, really? I mean, it's that simple. Yes, it's that simple. I just did it, and I hit OK. Now, we don't see the information yet. How do we see that? Well, we need a way to view through the customer the related work orders. So how do we look through to see the related work orders? Well, I'm going to go once again into Edit Layouts or Layout Mode. And I'm going to, my field picker's over here. I'm going to kind of try to keep it out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and grab another tool called the Portal tool. Portal, like the window of a ship. You're looking out the window and you can see, related items. And so I'm going to drag a portal like this, and it's going to fill up this space in work orders. Pretty cool. And I let go, and it says, well, what kind of portal do we want? Well, we want to see the work orders that we did. That connection of that line graphically allows this information right here to be displayed. So we say, well, we got a work orders. That's cool. Let's put a scroll bar in there. That's great. We could also set it up so they sort it all the time, or we can do all sorts of conditions and criteria here. Let's keep it simple for right now. Let's say, okay, Now, it's going to say what fields we want to see in the portal. Well, I want to see the date field, description, and hours. That's good. So let's move those over here, and I say OK. And I can go ahead and say exit this design mode, layout mode, and go back to browse mode. And so now I'm seeing in real time the related data, the related work orders for these customers. This is a huge deal, all because we drew one little line relationally between the customers and the work orders in the relational graph. And so now we see the related information. It's pretty slick. Now, of course, I guess it's obvious to state, or maybe not, but hopefully everyone would understand that as I'm over here in my iPad and we're sharing this data live, I can click on work orders, and now I'm seeing the same information. And anyone who's on my team accessing this worldwide would have this information right now. I mean, it's that fast. And so we're actually creating a pretty substantial and functional system. So that is custom development in FileMaker, and that's what FileMaker can do. Now, it can do some pretty amazing things. This is very basic and rudimentary in the big scheme of things, but look how effective of a solution we've built in a very short period of time. And yes, we had some spreadsheets lined up and some contracts lined up, but we had an idea of what we wanted. And how hard was it for us to put this up on the up in the cloud and host it? It's not very hard at all. Now, once again, I would recommend for a more serious solution that you put it up in FileMaker Server. And we're going to talk about that in other videos. But just to get your feet wet with what's going on. Now, a couple final pieces here for this is that you can actually be in FileMaker here, and you can actually put buttons on the screen here and attach those buttons to scripts, which is FileMaker's kind of programming environment. It's lightweight. It's very simple to understand. If you go into scripts here and you say script workspace, there's no script, so I can add a script. And if you look at the commands that are over here, these are very simple commands like go to a layout, go to a certain record, go to a specific field, jump into find mode, all these types of things. Go to record, go to make a new record. All these types of basic plain English commands are all in here in this scripting environment. So that's available here. If you're back over here on this layout, you go back into edit layout mode, you could actually drag a button on here. We could drag a button on here that does something important, and you could name the button, print report, right? And move it up here, click here. Now, of course, once again, you're not locked into the size. You can resize things however you want them, right? So you do it like that. We move it around a little bit. It's no big deal. So you start to get an idea that you can do so much more with this. You can add levels of security. You can actually have FileMaker talk to other more complex data systems like SQL systems or Oracle systems. You can have the information exchange, full password capabilities, full calculations where you can calculate things. I mean, we could have easily created a calculation here that total all this information up here at the bottom. It would be a snap. We'd define a calculation field. So this is basically FileMaker's extended elevator pitch, if you understand what I'm saying. Once again, so your typical elevator pitch is 1 to 2 minutes, and this is much longer than that. But this is what you're going to use to follow up when someone asks you about your solution and you're trying to sell it to them. You want to have a way of demoing your vertical market application. Well, I'm demoing FileMaker here to show you what you can do, but once you build something, and if you want to resell it, you're going to want to come up with the name of a product, you want to come up with a pitch for it, a quick pitch, and then maybe a more extended demo. Something like this is very powerful. As soon as you get to a point where people can come into the system and drop images and drop live data and share that information and look at contracts and add mapping, I mean, FileMaker can do anything you could think of. It can talk to Federal Express and create shipping labels and all that type of stuff. If you can think of it, FileMaker can do it. It's really cool. I mean, what if you needed to run a credit card? Well, FileMaker with an add-on can run credit cards. Of course, it can send emails out very easily. Built-in email capabilities part of the FileMaker platform. It generates PDFs very easily, so you could create a PDF and then email it out. So once again, this is our extended elevator pitch. This is for FileMaker, and of course, you would want to be thinking about the elevator pitch or demonstration that you would have when you're talking to people about your vertical market application.